I love it, bro. The 10-second countdown. It's very dramatic. All right. All right, man. Hey, 14 in here. All right. What up, Keith? What's up, bro?
Yeah, what's good, man? What's good, man? First off, thank you for having me. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. And I appreciate you, like seeing this through because I was sick for the last 3 days. My whole household was sick. But like knowing that by 10 p.m. on Monday, January 5th, I had to be ready to rock with Clint Frazier. I'm good. I'm all right.
No, this is a long time coming. We talked about doing something in New York and we didn't end up doing it. And then now it's like, hey, this only makes sense to hop on the live because, bro, every time I've done this, people are saying you gotta reach out to Keith. So now that we're here, bro, it's good to talk because we got some stuff that we need to talk about given the fact that the Yankees hot stove is going and the stuff that we've been seeing on Yankees Twitter lately. And obviously it's been a pretty slow offseason. So I mean, someone's got to carry the load while we're doing this. This could be us.
Yeah. You know what? I had that thought too. I'm like, man, maybe if we start doing some, they'll start doing something. Like everybody's waiting, everybody's getting impatient. And sometimes like if you just start doing stuff like we're doing tonight, then maybe this will get to somebody where they're like, hey, push the button. Okay. So when we started talking, we were like, let's set a date and try and find a time where we could react to a Yankees move. We're not reacting to Nick Torres. We're not reacting to Paul DeYoung. We're not reacting to Paul Blackburn. So we just said, all right, we'll react to Hot Stove. And obviously we'll go through that tonight, what we got from Hot Stove. But like there is something towards like content creators, former player, former nighttime radio host going out there and talking about this stuff where that'll put some urgency on the Yankees as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, I told you off camera, I said, Baron Boone follows me. People from the Yankees follow me. I know they're seeing our stuff. So, why not, bro, why not keep the foot on the gas and just put these things out there? Because I've said it in some of my videos, bro, that if fans want to see the Yankees make moves or make comments about stuff, you have to keep bringing these things to light. You know what I mean? It's people like you on the late night talk shows that really give fans a lot of things to even think about for the first time. So the way that we're going to cover some of the stuff that's going on with the Yankees, I think is going to be just an interesting dynamic for people to kind of digest it because one, you do the late night talk show stuff. I've done the inside, I've been inside the Yankees org. And so it'll be a cool dynamic. And, obviously Jack Curry gave us a bunch of stuff to have some food for thought on.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. I am excited for this because you being on the inside as a former player and now doing content, me being on the inside as a fan and media member, there's definitely a lot for us to share here from our perspective. So yeah, we'll start with Hot Stove tonight, 7 o'clock on the Yes Network. If you were watching, you saw what they did. And what I'll say about the Yes Network, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network, the New York Yankees own the channel. You might have seen me on the channel. You definitely saw Clint on the channel. Like everything that you're hearing from them, it is not a rumor. It is not make believe. It is not somebody going on Twitter that's not credible. It's Michael Kay and Jack Curry taking orders from Randy Levine, Hal Steinbrenner, and Brian Cashman. So what they started with was Cody Bellinger. And Clint, you put out your video today talking about Cody Bellinger getting a second offer. So what do you think just about that? There was one offer last week. There's a second offer. And Kay was asked if they made a second offer because another team offered him. And Curry said no. It was more about the agent. And we know he's represented by Scott Boras.
Yeah. I mean, I said it in my video today. I said, look, the fact that the Yankees followed up with another contract this quickly goes to show that the first one wasn't that strong, and I know that a lot of teams do this. A lot of teams put kind of feeler contracts out there. But, bro, like off the rip for me, it's like, all we've heard this offseason is that the Yankees want Cody Bellinger. They want Cody Bellinger, and they've got all their eggs in one basket. And for me, it feels like they're playing with fire by offering him a deal that maybe wouldn't suffice him right away, because I feel like if we think about the way that the team is moving right now and the lack of moves and just overall the urgency that doesn't seem to be there, you want to make him feel like things are going to be different if he comes back because you see that the Dodgers are interested. You see that Steve Cohen is interested. You see the Cubs are interested and those teams are making moves. Those teams like the Dodgers, for instance, you can't let the Dodgers just like see blood in the water and lurk. And that first contract offer being weak, that's something to me that just goes to show that right now, like, bro, they didn't care right off the rip. Obviously you said that they put another year on top of it and whatnot. But it's like, bro, you should have started with the extra year, because I feel like it's a time that you don't want to play with fire, because if that move blows up, I mean, where are they going to go? Where will they go?
I mean, this is the Yankees. These are the same people that lowballed Aaron Judge. They offered Judge like 240. Before the season started in 2022, they offered Judge, I think, like 238 or something like that, and Judge didn't take it. And then he literally made them, have to pay him what he's getting paid now, which is a bargain of a deal. But yes, they went from 4 years to 5 years. And Jack Curry said there's clearly a gap, but the Yankees are optimistic because he hasn't signed elsewhere. So when you talk about the other teams, the Mets, the Dodgers, I think I heard Jim Bowden float the Pirates, or somebody else floated out the Pirates. That's a joke. Like, I mean, why would you, like, for any money, why would you sign with the Pirates before the Yankees? They're not going to do that. So Curry also said that some teams have fallen off. And if teams are falling off, I think that's because they know Belly wants to go back to the Yankees. They mentioned his father playing for the Yankees and winning championships. And like they said, that means something to him. Well, I think other teams are probably like, hey, here's an offer from us, or, are we interested? And like, I don't know. I remember being recruited for college football, way different. But I took one official visit. I took one offer. I went to James Madison University, and the rest of the schools were kind of like, hey, what about us? And I'm like, sorry, I knew where I wanted to go. I think Belly knows where he wants to be, and it's just now about Scott Boras and him and Cashman figuring out how to get to his value, what he's worth. And I think it's going to be somewhere around 30, maybe 32 million if they have to get that far for 5 years. 6 if they have to, but I know they don't want to go 6.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've obviously seen one trend with Cody, right? He likes the big market teams. Came up with the Dodgers, went to the Yankees, went to the Cubs. He's tried them all out. He knows what to expect going back to these orgs, And so that for me is like, okay, if he has a good feel for what all these organizations already navigate, like, you have to do something like you're saying, add the extra years on top, give him the money that makes sense, because ultimately what it comes down to is like, Pop's playing for the Yankees ain't going to be enough to get you to come back. He knows what's going on inside, and a guy like him that's going to be paid as much as he's being paid, you would expect that he's going to know some things that what's underneath the hood for the Yankees, the direction that they're going to go. The same as Judge, these guys, they're in on some of these moves. They use players to go back and forth and try to bridge the gap to bring them there. I know Booney said stuff in the past where he's like, and like, honestly, bro, it kind of blew my mind, because I was like, that is wild. Where Booney's like, yeah, haven't reached out to Cody yet this offseason. It's like,
why not?
Why? And then he's like, you know what? I let the front office do that, and Judgy's doing it. It's like, brother, we are not in a place right now where you should just be not doing things that you think you need to be doing. Reach out to him, bro, because again, I mean, we've said it, like, bro, the Yankees are in an interesting place. Obviously they're running it back. You said it off camera. If you run it back, what did you say? You're more vulnerable.
You're vulnerable because something's gonna happen. What can happen will. We'll get to that. Because that's where I'm worried. Like, you think running it back, you're gonna get the same results as last year? No 2 seasons are alike.
But here's the thing that we saw last season, right? There were many times last season where the Yankees were borderline unwatchable with this team. There was a stretch, and they always seem to have a stretch where everyone's like, what is going on? You got Booney up there. Booney saying
the Boone June swoon. Yeah, as soon as you get to June, the Boone June swoon, and July, you gonna cry. I lived it. Yep, I was at those games. Yep.
But that's the thing about this particular team in general, is you've seen the capabilities that they have, good and bad. And so you want to make sure that you can avoid those downward spirals that they have consistently every single year. And I just feel like with this team, when we're looking around and whatnot, if they don't get Cody back, it's going to be like, dude, you're losing a huge asset. I mean, you're losing a guy that can play all 3 outfield spots. You're losing a guy that absolutely mashes left-handed pitching, because we know that they said they're desperate to get a righty. Cody basically you don't even have to worry about it because of how good he's done against lefties. And then, God forbid, anything happens to Ben Rice, because there's no way, I've said it on my videos, I'm not going to let Ahmed Rosario play first base, bro. I'll go block him myself from being the first baseman. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
No, Belly will be at first base, and you got to watch Dominguez play left field every day.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, and we've already got enough of other players that we have to watch play certain positions where we're not happy with what's going on. And so Cody Bellinger, to me, it's just like, you know, the Yankees got to, I feel like the Yankees aren't willing to bend much. You know, they're so caught in their own ways, and they don't want to give anyone a way to be able to be like, you know what, like, we got them to do what we wanted them to do. They're always seeming to do what they want to do, and it comes back to hurt him. Cody's going to be a guy that if you wait this offseason, or he's a guy that he can control how long he's going to sit there and wait to sign. You know, him and Kyle Tucker really kind of hold the cards for a lot of these other teams' moves, because you can see that Scott Boras will wait the entire offseason. He's not afraid to drag it out in spring training. And if you're going to put all the pressure on signing Cody back and not make any moves in between, it's going to be, you're going to see a team roll into spring training that no one's really going to know what it's going to look like potentially.
Oh boy. All right. Well, we'll get to the chat. And before we get to Edward Cabrera, Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, Ben Rice, some of the little minor league deals that the Yankees have signed. Thanks for joining. If you're not subscribed to Clint's channel, or if you're watching as we simulcast to my channel, make sure you guys subscribe, hit like. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. I think I said what's up to some in the beginning, but I wanted us to kind of get up and running here. So shout out to Pam. I see NYYJ was the first one in here. Said, what's up, Clint, at 9:32 while we were backstage kind of doing a little, pre-show. Isaac is in here. Alex is in here. Chef Mambo, what up? Who else we got in here? My guy Ray Condi up here. Alex in here. So a lot of the Yankee fans that I'm very used to seeing online and at the stadium. You diehards, I know that you guys are, living it like we're living it, and waiting for the Yankees to make their moves. And I'll say this about Cody Bellinger before we move on to other players. This is it for his career. This is his big payday. And if you remember back with the Cubs, he took a short-term deal. They're actually reporting now that Kyle Tucker is going to be forced to take a short-term deal. I don't believe that. I think that up there in Toronto, they got the money. They might pay him. They've been the favorites to land him. But Cody Bellinger's not looking for a short-term deal. And if the Yankees are going to go 5 years, they might have to pay him $32 million a year. And I do believe he wants to pay with Judge. There were reports that Judge has been lobbying for him. I think the Yankees are optimistic that it's going to get done. But like Clint said, they don't want to bend. They're going to have to bend a little bit here, because if they let Belly somehow slip and go elsewhere, because Boras will see this thing out all the way to February. Like, if you remember, Bryce Harper didn't sign until like late February. Like, he had his press conference at spring training. It was like February 28th or something. It was late, bro. It was like the last day of February. You don't want that happening. And Boras has had that happen. I remember being on the radio talking about the Boras Five, right? It was Chapman. It was JD Martinez. It was Jordan Montgomery. It was Belly and Blake Snell, and all those dudes signed late, and it affected their preparation. It affected them in spring training, and then ultimately affected their seasons. So Boras had to learn from that, and the players have learned from that. This Belly thing will not drag out. The Yankees might just have to give a little to get it done.
Yeah, again, bro, I think that I think, look, if the Yankees don't act with urgency, you could assume that someone else will. And at this point in time, like you said, if it's Cody's last ride where he's looking for that big payday, because Cody was a guy that when him and Judge were going back and forth for the rookie home run records there, like back in 2018, it was like, Cody was going to get $300 million guaranteed. And then he went through that kind of dry spell where it was an interesting time in his career where he had to kind of rebuild himself and kind of lost some value, And so for him to have been a guy that was going to be $300 million guaranteed to then, oh, wow, like he's doing these 1-year deals to gain all of the momentum back about how good of a player he is, to now be back in the driver's seat it's not easy to do, bro. It's not easy to get back in control. And so you have to believe right now he's in control. He's going to make sure to try to be in control, and the Yankees have to be willing to give him what he wants, because, dude, I just think that he's too big a part of that team to not.
Right. The Yankees have kind of wiggled themselves into a position where this is their big fish. This is the guy they need. And He came into the Yankee world and played very well. He plays 4 positions very well. A good hitter, left-handed bat, and I was there against the Cubs where he had the 3, almost 4 home runs that game. Like he's got to come back. The Yankees know they can't lose Cody Bellinger, but the longer this goes, the more a like dark horse mystery team could pop up, and I hope that doesn't happen. I'm hoping this is done in the next week at 2 weeks at the most. Clint, check your text or private chat. I just hit you at something. You got to bear with us. We're using StreamYard for the first time. Well, not my first time, Clint's first time on StreamYard, so that we both could be on here. I do want to give people love in the chat, but Clint has to control it as far as selecting you guys, clicking on you, and putting you on the Jumbotron, putting you on the big screen. So I think if you just click from your end, like you can see the chat on the right, if you just click, that'll enlarge whoever's there and make them bigger on the screen. Because I see I see the chat kind of moving where it's in the corner and it's going pretty quickly, but there should be a way to make it big. I don't know. I'm just trying to give people love. There's a lot of people in the chat popping up, and I know people always want their little shine real quick. Like here's a good one. Jim Bowden floated out Nico Horner as a. There you go. There's no pivot this year. If we lose Belly, Tucker pivot would cost more. They're not checking on Kyle Tucker. So let's start moving on with Kyle Tucker. There was a report out there that Tucker's looking for a short-term deal now, or might have to settle for a short-term deal. I think that's ridiculous. Right, I think Kyle Tucker is the number 1 guy on the market. I think he's the best player available. Because we're going into a lockout next year. Because these guys are clutching their pearls. These rich ass owners don't want to pay this guy. You could lock up this guy for 7 to 8 years. Now he's going to be forced to take a deal. I don't know. The Yankees on Hot Stove tonight, they said that the Yankees have checked in on Kyle Tucker and have checked in on Bo Bichette. They didn't rule out Kyle Tucker. But they pretty much did tell us that, a Yankee marriage with Bo Bichette is unlikely. If you hear Jack Curry come out and say that it's unlikely, that means it's not going to happen. They don't view him as a shortstop. Anthony Volpe is your shortstop. Wait for it. When he's healthy, he will be. So we'll continue on, and I'll let Clint give us his thoughts on Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, and then Bo Bichette will open up a larger conversation on the Yankee shortstop, the Yankees second baseman, the infield, Ryan McMahon at third base as well.
First off, I've laughed at that username that I see every single time this person's in my comments on the video. So just so you know, that is I do laugh. So I actually thought he was talking about my name at first, and then I realized what what it means. But anyways, I haven't seen, dude. I mean, I might be blind, but I feel like I haven't seen anything that shows that the Yankees want Kyle Tucker. Obviously we see stuff sprinkled in there, like. You saw that he was like walking around the spring training complex with the Blue Jays back in a month ago. But like, I feel like the reason that Kyle Tucker doesn't make sense, just from my perspective, is that like, I'm having a hard time with how much money they're saying Kyle Tucker's projected. And the reason why I'm having a hard time with that is because you have to believe that the Yankees will not want to pay a player more than what they'll pay Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has won that MVP so many times in a row, and obviously, Ohtani's done what he's done, but as far as just straight position player, like Aaron Judge is in a league of his own. So to know that there's a player out there that doesn't beat him every year in the MVP race, doesn't have better numbers than him, and then to know that he really has only played a short amount of time in left field in his career, I just have a hard time seeing the Yankees pulling the trigger on that move versus the Cody Bellinger one, because, Belly fills the role for what they need more. And so the Kyle Tucker thing for me, and again, it's my own perspective. I know that Kyle Tucker's been a guy that hit like 40 homers every year in the minors and has gotten in a position to earn this payday. But for me, I've kind of just been like lukewarm on the Kyle Tucker to the Yankees thing, just because I've looked at it how you've thought about it. Is just like depth. Like we need to have depth in some of these areas, and Cody Bellinger does just as many good things as Kyle Tucker. Now, obviously, Tucker will have maybe a little more offensive threat, but Cody Bellinger is going to go out, play premium defense, play first base, hit left-handed pitching really well. And so for me, I've just been on Cody Bellinger over Kyle Tucker the entire time from that perspective. But I was slightly caught off guard to see the Bo Bichette thing get shot down by Jack Curry, basically, because for me, it's like, okay, yeah, you said expect Anthony Volpe if he makes it out of that rehab assignment, because one thing that people don't know is that once you go to the rehab assignment, you have X amount of days before they have to make the decision to where they bring you back up. So Anthony Volpe is going to have an extended rehab assignment. You might see that if he's down there for X amount of time, that they end his rehab assignment and then start it back up so they can give him more time, or they could option him. I do believe he's going to be back at shortstop. If Bo Bichette doesn't play shortstop the way that they want people to play it, well, last year Volpe didn't do that either. Volpe did not hit over 300 on fastballs, curveballs, and changeups like Bo Bichette did. And so for me, it's like you could give Bo Bichette the contract that he wants, knowing that, okay, maybe next year he could move to second base if Jazz leaves in free agency and doesn't come back. And then you figure out what shortstop looks like in 2027, but at least you have 2026 figured out with Bo Bichette there. And so to see it get shot down was kind of just like, all right, man. Like I'm kind of confused at the way that the Yankees.
Bro, I was listening to your video earlier talking about Bo Bichette and him hitting 300 against fastballs, curveballs, changeup. Like, he is a hitter. They need hitters like that in the postseason. That's what they always lack, are bona fide hitters that are going to hit, whether it's cold, whether it's windy, whether they're home, whether they're away, whether it's daytime, nighttime. Like, they have too many guys that fold. So just to hear that they're not interested in Bo Bichette because he's not a shortstop, and Anthony Volpe led the league in errors at shortstop, miss me with it, bro. It's nonsense. And Kyle Tucker, they don't want. Kyle Tucker is from the Tampa area. They easily could have had him at their brand new facility they've built down there in Tampa. New, and you haven't gotten to see it, but the old, George M. Steinbrenner Field, they have revamped. I haven't gotten to see it yet either. Hopefully I get to see it coming up in the next couple of months. New weight room, new kitchen, all that type of stuff. They could have easily had Kyle Tucker there. They don't want him. I think they checked on Kyle Tucker as a backup plan, but they're not expecting to have to use plan B. Plan A is to get Cody Bellinger. Plan B would be to pivot to a Kyle Tucker. And a lot of Yankee fans see the report that Kyle Tucker is going to end up taking a short-term deal. And they say, well, if we're not trying to spend, we should be all over this. They don't want the guy. Right now, it is the Blue Jays and the Mets as far as Kyle Tucker is concerned. So this is it's just telling you what the Yankees mentality is. It's telling you what the Yankees philosophy is. It's telling you what the Yankees plan is for how they're going about this offseason.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, right? I chose to be a content creator at a really interesting time, and so for me to kind of look at it, it's just like, I just can't figure it out, Like, the one thing that I know that the Yankees do better than anybody is they do a really good job at not telling the truth. You know what I mean? They do a really good job at getting up there and kind of.
You're talking to the guy. You're talking to the guy. I got it. I always say the Yankees aren't the last to know. They're the last to admit. I said the Yankees will piss on your head and tell you it's raining. I've been doing this for a long time. I said the Yankees die hard on their trades, their contracts, and their roster decisions. So, this is just who they are because they can be. They live in a world where they're unchecked. Nobody can check them. And even though they lose and they haven't won a World Series in 16 years, that register is still cha-ching, and people are still coming out. And people still look at the Yankees as the Yankees of old. So they go to sleep at night knowing we still made money and we were competitive and we won the same amount of games as last year. And you know what? The team that went to the World Series 7 games, we were this close. It was a tiebreaker, right? That beat us out. Us Yankee fans don't want to hear it, though. We don't want to hear it, though.
But here's the thing, bro. The one thing that would always bother me, right, is they have a moment, like I said this to you off camera, where they use people to say the things that they're afraid to say in public. You know what I mean? They use Jack Curry as a mouthpiece to either tell you that they're out on a guy or in on a guy. And I always find it interesting because I feel like the guys that don't want to go up there and say exactly why they're out on somebody know that they'll get eviscerated. You know what I mean? They use Jack Curry because they know that he's somebody that the fans trust. And I don't want to be hearing from Jack Curry as to why the Yankees are out on Bo Bichette. I want to hear Brian Cashman, because the relationship that I had with Brian Cashman behind the scenes was he was very honest. You know what I mean? He was always the guy that he would tell you exactly what you wanted to hear. And the one thing that I thought was interesting was, so I always had a hard time with it because I really liked him as a person, but he was always the guy that would sign off on being the one that made sure that I got sent back to AAA, it was a weird dynamic. It'd be like you go into WFAN and your boss is just jerking you around. You're like, dude, I like you, but you're the one like, and it's just like, so I know what he's like behind the scenes. And then to know that he's using another person to kind of shoot down these things about these free agents that damn well could help your team. Like it's a time. I mean, look, we had it. I can try to pop it up. Like we saw the amount of money that the other teams in the division are spending, and to see that the Yankees only have X amount that they've spent this year goes to show that one guy is like 85% of that. The qualifying offer is one, and then you have a few sprinkled in guys right behind it to bring it up to 29. It's just like, dude, look at the numbers above that and tell me that you actually think that you're trying.
Bro. Off camera, I was telling you, Rogers Communications, they got the money. The Blue Jays offered Ohtani over $700 million. They also offered Juan Soto over $700 million. Couldn't get either one of those guys. But you know what? They paid Vladdy his $500 million. You know what? They came out this offseason swinging with Dylan Cease, with Okamoto. They are spending money because they went to the World Series and hosted 4 games. I remember the numbers coming out last year with the Yankees going to the World Series and hosting 3 games. They made an extra $109 million. Did they turn around and spend it? Okay, they went out and got Max Fried. They made some trades to get, Devin Williams, and then they added Paul Goldschmidt. But like, they didn't go out and just naturally blow up the market and buy everybody. I mean, right now we're looking at the Blue Jays, Rogers Communications, I call them. That's the ownership. That they just went to the World Series. They hosted 4 games. Cha-ching, they made a ton of money and they're spending it. They're saying, no, we don't want to be neck and neck with the Yankees next year. We had their number, like they talked to Aaron Boone about in Yankees Hot Stove. And they said to Boone, and Boone said it's another log on the fire, right? Yeah. It's another log on the fire. Like, yeah, the fire is burning hot to beat the Blue Jays. They smacked you, bro. They scheduled Canada Boxing Day where they wore their red jerseys and they boxed you up. They knocked you out. So, like, they are spending the money. They are putting their foot on the gas while the Yankees are in cruise control.
That's the thing, bro. That's the thing. It's hard for me to sit here. Here's the thing, bro. Like, this is what I actually believe. I do believe that there are players on this team that are sitting here in the offseason and seeing the way that it's unfolding and thinking to themselves, like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, because when you're behind those closed doors in these moments that we're talking about, where it's like, yo, that the Blue Jays had your number and you're not going to go out and do anything to try to like take that away from them. And then you see that, okay, yeah, we're going to run it back. Like, don't get me wrong, bro. I'm not here to knock players. I'm not here to say that the signings that they're making are bad signings. Whatever, like, I don't know what they're going to look like, but they're certainly not players that are moving the needle. We're talking about Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman is still out there. I've said all offseason that it's a shame that a guy like Ryan McMahon is coming in and, again, no knock, but a guy like him is coming in and eating $34 million over the next 2 years when you could have given 1 year of $34 million to Alex Bregman and let bygones be bygones.
It's their own fault. They came into last year telling us that DJ LeMahieu could play third base. He could not physically. Then they had to put Jose Reyes there. He got up out of here quickly. And then Oswald Peraza. It was never really they never had a third baseman. So they had to trade for one at the deadline, and they were not going to go get Eugenio Suarez. So they went and got Ryan McMahon. Like, it's just the wrong allocation of funds and the wrong moves. And these things keep you in the maze. You get trapped in this maze that you can't get out of.
They're certainly, like you said, bro. They're what'd you say? It's raining, but they're saying piss on your head, but calling it rain.
That's one of my main Yankees patented lines. That's a catchphrase. The Yankees will piss on your head and tell you it's raining.
It's fucking raining, dude. That's the thing, is that's what it comes down to, right? It's like, I just want to hear them say exactly what it is. Call it what it is, because the way that the relationships that I've had behind the scenes with these people that I watch go up on the podium and give the answers the way that they do, it's like, dude, that is insane. It's insane, the act that you're putting on and doing that. I know you want to say what you actually want to say. Like, I just wish that we would get the version of the Yankees, because here's the thing. I think they could really avoid a lot of backlash if they just actually said the truth. You know what I mean?
Nah.
I do. I think they
Bro, they
create
lied
more
to
problems.
themselves so much they believe it, bro. Do you remember last year when Boone was defending Volpe and Meredith talked about it and somebody else talked about it where he's like, Volpe is freaking elite. And like he like stormed off or got mad in a post game. It's like, Anthony Volpe is not elite. What are you talking about? Go back to IKF. They were convinced that IKF was a good shortstop. Oh, we've got numbers and they ran the bases like drunks. Shout out to my OG John Sterling who said, the Yankees, they run the bases like drunks. And then Boone tells you, well, we have metrics that say we're about average. We're not that bad at running the bases. Bro, we saw Austin Wells walk off second base. Bro, we saw Jason Dominguez not know how many strikes there were. We saw Ben Rice get caught in no man's land. We saw Jazz get doubled up off first base in Miami. Like, this is just dumb shit. There's no defense for it.
No, there really isn't, you know. And I always found it funny in spring training because every time you'd get to spring training, they'd put Boone up in the front of the room and he'd be reading off the rules. You know, he'd be like reminding guys like what a infield flyout is and how like you got if you go and touch the base, you got like just all kinds of stuff. And then I would realize, and I was like, damn, like when I'm not there, I'm realizing I'm like, I actually understand why he's doing this because they're doing this in real time.
Yeah,
You
they
know
need a
what I mean?
refresher on this.
It's insane. It's just, I just wish that I could remember everything that went on behind the scenes, you know, and talk about it because being in this moment right now, like talking with you, it does remind me of things. It does make me laugh because I just know from a player's perspective that a lot of players are sitting there really thinking like, dude, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Why is Dylan Cease in the AL East and we're not even thinking about going out and getting like Tatsuya Ime or however you say his name, where it's like, bro, when the deal that he signed was the deal that he signed and you think about it, where Marcus Stroman was being paid more than what Tatsuya was being paid and the Yankees were just fine just sending him off to the shadow realm and we haven't heard from Stroman since. It makes you wonder, what's the
Stro is good. Shout out to Stro. Stro got the money to rebuild his Malibu crib that got, burned down in the fires out there in California, wherever. But yeah, it's crazy because fans did immediately put Tatsuya Imai's contract next to Stroman's and be like, why do we pay him? Because again, this is the maze you get stuck in with Brian Cashman and his moves and his allocation of funds. They didn't want to pay Blake Snell. So if you don't want to pay Blake Snell, they offer Blake Snell. But then Blake Snell is like, yo, I'm going to go win a World Series with the Dodgers, bro, and take deferred money, whatever. Okay, so you end up going to Marcus Stroman. And then when you look at Tatsuya Imai, he made his debut today wearing number 45 for the Houston Astros, the hated Houston Astros we all can't stand. He said that he looks up to Garrett Cole. That's why he chose the number, and Zach Wheeler. But first he said Garrett Cole. So wouldn't you want to pair him up with Garrett Cole? He looks up to Garrett Cole. Sign him. They're not trying to sign him. You and I were talking about the Japanese money, right? And the dollars. That Japanese market is important. The Yankees need to get back into that. Masahiro Tanaka time, that was my guy. They weren't interested. It was Yankees for clicks with Tatsuya Imai. They were never going to sign him. And that's something else they told us in Hot Stove, as we can talk about Edward Cabrera next. They said with Michael King and Tatsuya Imai, the Yankees were never in on them. They were never going to spend that money for those guys because the Yankees' plan is to trade for a starter. So that's where we're at. Michael King, Tatsuya Imai gone. I'm not sure what the price tag is going to be for Edward Cabrera. Rumors are it's probably going to take one of Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. But on Hot Stove, they said this is someone the Yankees have had their eyes on for a little while now, and that the Yankees have been checking on him for a while. Obviously, we know they've dealt with the Marlins. I'm sure the Marlins like the Agustin Ramirez trade because, I mean, he was a pretty good catcher and hitter for them. Jazz, Jazz worked out for us too, but I'll vividly always remember the 2 home runs that he hit to beat us in Miami, and Jazz didn't do diddly squat in that series, and he was supposed to return to have a revenge game. But yeah, let's talk about the starting pitching market. The Yankees also have had conversations with the Brewers and Freddie Peralta, and we know they obviously made that deal with Devin Williams where you send Caleb Durbin over there and Nestor Cortez over there. They didn't like the Nestor Cortez part of the deal, but I think they're going to enjoy having Caleb Durbin's services for the next few years.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, Are you want to talk about Freddie or Cabrera right now?
Cabrera, Freddie, yeah, we can go in that order. Go Cabrera, and then, or if you have a thought about Freddie, go for it.
My thing with Freddie is that given the fact that he only has 1 year left on that deal and the fact that he went out and did what he did and had so much success. I mean, obviously you compare him and Cabrera's season, like Freddie's was just insane. You know, I think he had like a 2.09 or I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but he's a very uncomfortable at bat. I mean, I've had at bats off of him and it's a very unique wind up. And so the timing mechanism as a hitter going in that box against a guy like him it's not fun. But when I think about like where the Yankees are at right now, to me, if the Yankees are looking at it from a standpoint of like trying to maximize the window that they have, whatever window it is, to win a World Series, and they don't believe that they could win it this year, then Freddie Peralta doesn't make sense to me to back the Brink truck up and go out and get a big guy like that. Cabrera makes more sense if you think about it, because what does he have? 3-4 years on his deal?
4 years, yeah.
4 years. He makes way more sense if you're going to unload some prospects. And here's the other thing that I think about. The Yankees, some of these teams find a lot of comfortability trading with each other, right? Like the Yankees obviously like to trade with the Marlins, and the Marlins like to trade with the Yankees. And I think that there's a few reasons for it. One, I think that they like to trade with them. The Yankees with the Marlins in particular is because they know that they're not going to get hurt by them anytime soon. You know, they're not going to be seeing the Marlins in the playoffs and knocking them out. And obviously the Marlins are in the NL and the Yankees are in the AL. And
Marlins swept us for the first time ever this past season.
But all I'm getting at here is they find comfortability making big moves to some of these teams because there's less of a chance that some of these teams that have these big players that they get will hurt them in the playoffs. So, and the other side of it is there was always this running joke whenever I was with the Yankees was that the Marlins were the Yankees of the South. And what they meant by that was that when Jeter came along, Jeter took a lot of people that were inside the organization that were staff members and just brought them over to the Marlins. So there's a lot of people in that org still that have camaraderie with the people in the Yankees. And so they line up really well from a standpoint of having relationships with one another. And, you know, obviously we know they got Stanton, they got Jazz. And so you see that these deals make sense. And so for me, if I'm looking at it like this, like the Yankees make sense more with Cabrera than Peralta. Obviously, you would want both, but I would like to see the Cabrera one more just from the fact of like, okay, this dude's not just going to jetson and walk right after the season. We might have him.
Yeah. He's younger. He's 27. Peralta's 29. He's got 4 years of control, and I think that the Marlins are going to be more inclined to take maybe some younger prospects. I think the Brewers would want more. So we'll see what shakes out with that. But at least like for the Yankee fans watching, hoping for a starter, Michael King was never real. Tatsuya Imai was never real. The Yankees are probably going to land Cody Bellinger and then trade for a starter and then maybe add another bullpen piece and wrap this thing up. And, on Hot Stove tonight, when they talked to Aaron Boone, Boone basically said when they asked him about, are you cool running it back? He says, I think there's some finishing off to do, but I believe we're going to be a good club regardless. And he said that a lot of things have to sync up for the finishing pieces to happen. And that brings me to this. Like I always talk about an order of operations. The Yankees are waiting for Cody Bellinger to bite on one of those deals. And I think Boris is going to drag this out for a while. And then they'll do the other things. So like when you guys are seeing these mid moves that nobody cares about, like Nick Torres, the Mexican League MVP, signs a minor league deal, Paul DeYoung, or some of these other guys, I don't even know who these guys are. Yeah. There was an MLB trade, Adam Kloffenstein, Peyton Henry to minor league contracts. When you guys are seeing those things pop up on MLB trade rumors, like those are the things that they can do that don't affect the bottom line. Those are the depth pieces that they can make happen right now, and they're doing those. But as far as anything bigger than Cody Bellinger or a trade for a starter, that's going to be it, folks. And then before you know it, it's wheels up to Tampa for spring training.
Bro, I saw something on Twitter that said that the AAA championship costs less than the Major League championship, and that's why they're doing this. And again, like these, like I said, I'm not going to come here and knock anybody for not being like a massive player to sign, because who knows, they could materialize to be something big for the team. And I don't know, but I think that right now they're just making a lot of minor moves that you're going to have to see a really unique situation unfold for those players to get an opportunity to be on the team. You know, we're talking about Anthony Volpe, Caballero getting hurt, and then you see Paul DeJong come up and get an opportunity. And obviously, you know, he had a career breakout year in 2019, but hey, that was a while ago. I was still
5 years ago, bro. Damn, 6 years, 7 years ago.
That's
Like
what I'm
what?
saying. You know, I think that the one thing that the Yankees like really love to do, and obviously, you know, they've got guys and they've got some stuff to show that they can do it, but I think they really like to. I think it really matters to them for them to get some praise for finding that diamond in the rough. You know what I mean?
Oh, a
I
Cashman
think
find.
they
Cashman loves to find a Gio Urshela, Mike Ford, Mike Talkman.
He needs it, bro. He needs that for his ego, you know. So some of these players being signed, I can't help but think that like you said, the Luke Boyd and these guys where it's just like
Luke Boyd, exactly. Like those are the guys he likes to find.
He needs it. He needs it. So these signings are those. I think
Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver's another one.
Brother, I'm telling you, been there, been around him. I think those are things that fuel his ego. I think those are the moments. Those are the moments where he's like, you know what? Y'all don't know anything. Like
steal of a deal.
I did this.
They call me the cash man because I find ways to not spend all the cash, man.
That's the thing, bro.
He loves a bargain bin. He loves a clearance rack. He loves a off the scrap heap type of deal. Somebody that he can get more miles out of, but not have to fill up the gas tank.
That's the thing, bro. Is I think that as this offseason unfolds and we start to see more names fall off the board, you're gonna see more of those smaller signings happening. And that's the thing. That's like let's just get back on track with it. Like, if the Yankees are cool running it back, if Boone and them actually think there's some unfinished business with this team that they have, brother, we've seen moments with this team where they're unbearable to watch. They're very capable of going out and playing really good. They're very capable of going out and playing where everyone's like, dude, I could do that. Because there's a lot of times where I've watched these games, it's like, you know what? Some of the swings that I just watched on TV, fans could take those same swings. And so if we're talking about the underlying philosophy of some of the things that the organization could do with this roster that they've got, they got to get creative with the way that they're going to make these guys actually pop. Because, you know, the one theme that I've seen with all these players, and I can't remember it, it's like they have so many guys that they're expecting to bounce back. Like even when they talked about Trent Grisham, like I heard Cashman say that when they got Grisham, and he did what he did, it kind of came out of nowhere. And I was like, came out of nowhere is a lot of money for $22 million to give a guy. Like, you just gave this came out
after he did what he did, making $5. Yeah.
Gave this guy that came out of nowhere $22 million. And you might have to stomach the fact that if nothing materializes this offseason, that was your biggest signing. So to do that,
I feel like it's inevitable, bro. Do you not feel like it's inevitable for him to regress, for him to come back down to earth? Like, when you talk about running it back, Trent Grisham's not going to hit another 34 home runs.
It's very possible that he doesn't replicate what he's doing, you know, and he didn't. But like, here's the thing, bro. Like, he pulled all those home runs. He had like a career high pulled home runs. It was like 27 of his homers he pulled. I think he hit all of them pulled. I can't even think about one going the other way.
Yeah, he doesn't hit Oppo. They're all going to right field.
But that's the thing, bro. The way that the game is moving right now, if you have a place that you are very comfortable going, the game plan coming into this next season is going to be that Trent Grisham can really only hurt you going pull side. These pitchers will not go there. They won't go in areas that he can damage them in. You know what I mean? And in Yankee Stadium, I said it in my video, like, a lot of people think that Yankee Stadium is built for left-handers, and it is. It is if you can lift the ball into the air. But when you think about it, Yankee Stadium is more built for these right-handed hitters, which that makes me wonder if that's why the Yankees are kind of wanting to go out and get some more righties, is because they know that you can use right field to your advantage so well, and then you can pull the homers, because you don't see a lot of lefties go opposite field homers in Yankee Stadium. They end up being the deep fly balls, and so that's where it's like, okay, if they know that, they're going to game plan for all these damn lefties that you've got in this lineup. And Trent Grisham didn't do really well at Yankee Stadium whenever I looked at his numbers. He actually
on the road.
He did all of it on the road.
On the road.
So I didn't even look at all the swings. So, it's just like, damn, man, like we gotta, like you talked about it. Bo Bichette in that lineup makes too much sense. We need hitters in that lineup. If you can't get Bo, go out and what'd you say? Cashman loves to find that he doesn't like you spend that cash, man. Go find one of those small guys that can hit. Go get Steven Kwan.
You made me think about something else I had in the notes. Fireside Yankees put out a quote from Jim Bowden on MLB Radio that says, "I'm being told by opposing GMs that the Yankees are pretty obsessed with adding a right-handed bat. I've also heard that they are linked to Nico Horner." Maybe a trade like that could happen, but I doubt it. I don't know. I mean, I think the Cubs like their team and who they have, and the Cubs were competitive last year, and I think it would take a big haul from the Yankees, and it'll probably take one of Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez is gone. And like, I don't know. Here's a good question for you. Who do you think is more valuable in a trade? Spencer Jones, who hasn't played one Major League Baseball game, like he's torn it up in AAA. When they brought him up to AAA at the end of the year, he was homering every day. Or Jason Dominguez, who I don't really think he's a left fielder. I think if he went somewhere else, somebody'd be better off putting him in center field. He does have some major league homers. He does have some major league experience, and he's a switch hitter, not just a left-handed hitter like Spencer Jones.
All right, bro. Here's the thing. I don't know if we'll co-align with this thought. I think it's Jason Dominguez. I think he's got more value.
I think he's got more value too.
I think that there is way too much concern around the swing and miss with Spencer Jones. I'm not saying that he can't make the adjustment and swing and miss less at the major league level, but usually whenever you go from the minors to the majors, you don't really see a huge difference, or not a huge difference. You don't really see guys not strike out less. They're going to more than likely strike out more. I mean, look at Judge's first stint. He struck out like 55-60% of his at-bats in the big leagues in his first go-round in 2017 before he pulled his oblique. And so, but like, here's the other thing, bro. And like, maybe this is just to the naked eye. Like, Spencer Jones' batting stance, like that thing gives me the ick a little bit. Like, it does not look comfy, brother. He looks like he's thinking about that thing in there, and that it just doesn't.
He's like bent over.
It is not like it is. It looks ugly. So I think there's just too much. There's just too much question around Spencer Jones versus, like, I feel like Jason Dominguez has more to offer. He obviously gets a lot of flack on, can he hit right-handed? He doesn't see a lot of left-handed pitching from time to time. And so I think that he just has more value from the fact that I think he's younger, right? Is he still younger than Spencer?
He's younger.
Jones?
Definitely.
Yeah,
he's 22. Jones is 25.
Yeah.
And he's faster. Like, Dominguez is a terror on the base paths. Like, Dominguez, when he gets running, he's like an NFL running back. Dominguez as a switch hitter, I think he can still keep developing. But my thing, like I said, was they threw him out in left field because he is so athletic. Like, yeah, he'll figure it out. And you have experience playing left field in Yankee Stadium. It ain't something you just figure it out in one off season like they thought that he could.
Brother, let me tell you about Yankee Stadium left field. There's no other stadium that he can go to in a time like this to replicate what he's going to have in those moments. So instead of sending him to the Winter Ball League in the Dominican, you should have sent him up to the Bronx and just give him a place to stay and put him in left field the entire offseason, because it's the biggest spot in left. It's the biggest spot in the outfield. I mean, that's why a guy like Brett Gardner was so good for left field with Yankee Stadium, because he was a true center fielder and he manned center field better than most guys. So you put him out there and he doesn't get exposed like the rest of us. I came up as a center fielder, but brother, I was not no center fielder. I don't know if Jason Dominguez is like a true center fielder. When you look at like the difference between some of the routes that these guys run, the left field stuff will really open your eyes. Like it's very scary out there. Like, I'm dead ass.
Him going to his left, to the warning track and to the wall, he can't do it. And I mean, we saw it for years as Yankee fans. I used to say that was no man's land. The ball would die in shallow left field. They were so cavalier, bro. They put Cabrera out there. They put anybody out there. A while back they put Miguel Andujar out there, and I'm like, not anybody can just go out there and play left field. It's a ocean out there. So I don't know. They got to figure that out. But that's where Belly will be every day. And Belly has no problem playing left field in Yankee Stadium.
But that's the thing. It brings this up right here, where it's like, there's if you get Belly, then you have the option to potentially trade one of these two guys.
One of them got to go.
one of them has to go, bro, because you can't just keep getting these outfielders that you say are the next Babe Ruth and then never get us a chance to see Babe Ruth play. You know, it like the one thing that I'll say this, and I've said this in the past, and I don't know if people have heard me say this, but the one thing that the Yankees do better than anybody is they weaponize the media so well, right? And when they weaponize it, they go out and they find somebody that's comfortable telling the story, and then they tell you how good these players are. And that makes other fan bases, whenever they go to trade these players, make these fans that are acquiring these team or these players think like, oh my God, we're getting Babe Ruth. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, the Yankees didn't give Babe Ruth a chance to play. You know, Jason Dominguez got that nickname, the Martian, because they said his talent was out of this world. But when push comes to shove, we aren't getting to see that talent. So I'm not for I'm not in the company to say, hey, let's block these young players from getting an opportunity. But when you think about when this team kicks off the first game of the season, that they're going to be down a few starters, and that if they don't have left field figured out, shortstop's going to be a question mark. Third base is going to be defensive only over there. First base, we might see a fucking shortstop play first base at time to time. So there like when you think about the Yankee season last year and how every game like mattered, and they tied the division right there. Like the reason that they tied that division could come down to the beginning part of the season. Those early season series can ultimately determine the fate of a team, because if you get off to a slow start, bro, and we're just like you're saying, we're just throwing random people out there to play these positions. What do you expect?
The math ain't math and late. You can't make it up. Even if you do schedule the White Sox, Orioles, Twins, like you can't make it up. The Yankees tried to do that this year and still came up short. So, you mentioned a good point, because we were talking about, first base. And I saw somebody in the chat mention Nick Torres. On Hot Stove, they featured Ben Rice tonight, and they said the Yankees hierarchy called him the starting first baseman, so he's the guy. They kind of dispelled the rumor that Rosario could play over there. They said, Jack Curry said that's not his best position. That's like a safety net type of thing, I guess. And I don't think they want Rosario playing first base, but they plan on playing Ben Rice against lefties more to see how he can improve this year. He made 26 starts behind the plate at catcher, they said. Jack Curry said that he, doesn't see him catching much, that if he's asking him to be the starting first baseman, I'd like to see him work on that skill. And we all know he's got to work on his first base skills. He's got to work on scooping the ball. I know there's definitely some those Volpe throwing errors that, Ben Rice could have helped him out on. And hopefully the little bit of time around Paul Goldschmidt helped Ben Rice. So, yeah, let's talk now more. And as we wrap this up, and, we'll get to the chat, too, about, the depth. And, like, I just think it's a potential house of cards. Like, I'll throw a couple things out to you. What happens if Judge's elbow goes? What if Judge is one hard throw away from his elbow going? And then what do? Then you're playing Belly in left field, and then, I don't know, Dominguez in right, or Spencer Jones, whoever it is. Like, that's tough. What if Stanton has another hammy or calf issue? And then who's your DH every day? Like, what if, I don't know. There's a lot of little things that could go wrong here. They need another catcher. Austin Wells can't be your only catcher, right? If you're expecting Ben Rice to catch or play first base, Austin Wells shouldn't be your only catcher because he's not that good. Like, you should have a right-handed hitting catcher to platoon with him. I don't know. There's a few little things. What if Trent Grisham is just ass? What if he just reverts to being the 190 hitter that he was? You're going to play him every single day? Like, there's a lot wrong with running it back. There's a lot that could go wrong with running it back. And what I've seen in baseball, what can go wrong will.
I'm laughing at the comment I just put up on the screen because it cracks me up because it's the guy moves so slow, but yet those hammies and calves become a serious issue for some reason. But bro, again, I feel like right now Cashman's he's going to be very scrutinized with the way that this organization has gone about this offseason. And the reason why I think that is all the points you just said right there. If Stanton's one bad sneeze away from another injury, and then Judge is one bad throw away from hurting his elbow, and then Grisham regresses, it's like, dude, you got a lot of spots to be filled and not a lot of time or areas to look in to fill those spots. Obviously they've got those minor league stuff that they've done, but those guys cannot come up and carry your team. And to think that the urgency isn't there to get some of those players is concerning. And to know that, I didn't like spend a whole lot of time last year watching Ben Rice at first base. And so I kind of find it like comical and laughing a little bit for them to say that, yeah, he's our first baseman. Cause in my mind, it's like, dude, no shit. Like, yeah, he's like, no, you don't have anybody else. And to kind of like balk at Rosario playing first, it's like, you guys told us he was the backup first baseman, like we didn't come up with this idea. Like, you guys said he was working on it in Washington and it never came to light. And obviously there's probably a reason it never came to light. It's because this guy doesn't play first base. The Yankees just have too much of a problem of putting guys in situations that they never should have been in the first place. And so to know that they've had all this time and Joel Sherman says, hey, the Yankees alarm clock might have just gone off on this offseason. It's like, you got to be absolutely kidding me that you waited until January 1 to set the alarm on all the spots that you had last year, that everybody that went up on that podium was tired of answering those same questions. I got to believe that Booney aged 10 years from some of the things that this team put him through last year, and they're going to run it back. So I don't know. I feel like with the amount of lefties that they have, I believe like for whatever reason, I do think that Austin Wells might bounce back. I think that he's better than what he performed. I'm not super sold on Volpe, coming back. I think that Volpe's going to have kind of the weight of the world on his shoulders whenever he steps in, because I think that when you watch some of these young players get an opportunity and it kind of doesn't go the way that they want it to, that fans show up to the park to watch them for the wrong reasons, whether that's wanting to see him strike out or have an error or show up on the guy's betting scandal by swinging at the ball down the middle of that, or, you know what I mean? Like, whether you're just adding, like Boone said, just putting more logs on the fire. So I think that Volpe's going to have a lot of eyes on him. I think that whenever I heard Boone talk about the backup catcher as how do you like JC? I think it's JC. I don't know his last name.
JC Escara. Yeah, JC Escara.
Brother, he talked about him like he wanted that guy to be the catcher.
Oh my God. You would think that he was Pudge Rodriguez. You would think the way he talked about him, he was Yadi Molina.
He certainly made it seem he did the Booney special, the Boone ball, where it's like, brother, you're looking at a Volkswagen. He's telling you it's a Ferrari, and we've seen it. And I obviously went and looked at JC's numbers after that and was like, dude, what am I missing here? But, hey, they got all the answers. They're going to cook the meal the way they wanted to cook, but they might burn down the kitchen in the process.
It was a good story for Good Morning America, bro. It was a good story for, the Uber driver, substitute teacher, makes it with the New York Yankees, but like, nah, bro, he cost us a couple games. I don't know, bro. Anyway, speaking of Boone, they asked Aaron Boone about the World Baseball Classic because is there any concern over Aaron Judge and David Bednar going? And he said, all we can do is help put these guys in the best position to go out there and do it safely and stay healthy. It's a big part of our sport now, and there's value in them competing at a high level before the season. So your captain, your best hitter, best player out in right field, and then also your closer going to play in a high-level World Baseball Classic where we've seen it claim the likes of Edwin Diaz. I think even Didi Gregorius got in that one year. Like, I don't know. I'm fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed on that.
That one puts teams in a really bad spot, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't the NFL talking about letting their players go out and play flag football in the Olympics. This is like, when push comes to shove and spring training rolls around and you see the amount of pride that these players have for playing for their country, like, it's going to be hard to tell them not to do it. And especially with how much MLB has lobbied to get this going back again and really make it a thing. It's hard because I know organizations are looking at it like, dude, if Bednar goes out there, people don't know, but that UCL is the width of a shoelace, brother. Like, he could be one bad snapdragon away from tearing that shoelace in his arm, and next thing you know, we're on the hook for however much he has, and he's not going to see one inning on the mound. I think they'd much rather lose him in spring training than they would losing him in the arms of another person taking care of him, because he's not going to be with these Yankees trainers at the World Baseball Classic,
right?
Likely. So I think that's understandable. If you think about it, you have all this money that you invest in these players, and to know that, like, hey, like, they could get hurt in the World Baseball Classic that's not even associated with the New York Yankees is tough, but they're in a bad spot because the captain of their team is the captain of Team USA. And they can't tell him no. Like, you know what I mean? I always said whenever I was with the Yankees, and I can say some good stuff where it's like, you got Hal Steinbrenner, you got Randy Levine, and then you got Cashman and Judge, and they're like, dude, they're pretty close. Like one of them could outlive the other.
Cashman is above, or Aaron Judge
Like,
is above Aaron Boone. Cashman. It goes Cashman and Judge. Nah, I'm laughing because you're probably right.
It's not even close, bro. It's not even close. Like we used to always joke around, bro, where it would be like, you know, the like for instance, like here's the thing. This is some good stuff. This is some good insight, right? We'd be going on a travel day, right? And then there'd be moments where, you know, we'd be in a group. I didn't even know Aaron Boone was in the group text at one point. Whenever I saw this text come through, I actually saw that he was in there after these texts would get sent, and Booney would send the text and be like, "Hey, we're wearing the track suits, or we're wearing the suit, your suit on the plane." And it didn't start to come to fruition later in my career where they finally gave us some Yankees track suits, because guys are like, bruh, it's 3 a.m. Why am I wearing a blazer? And we're not even going through the airport.
Because that's what George wanted. George wanted the Yankees to always show up in suits. Yep.
So you would see that these texts would get sent, and it would be like someone would send a text, and it would be like tracksuit ? And then Booney would respond back and be like, no. And then you would see Judge or Gardy be like, yeah, tracksuits. And then they would be wearing the tracksuits. And I would be in a situation where I would be like, dude, I might just wear the blazer, because where I'm at with these guys, like if I'm not wearing the track, so
trying to get in their good graces.
And then you would see that there'd be moments where like the bus would be waiting to go to the airport, and Brett Gardner was the funniest dude I ever met. Like, best dude ever, funniest guy I've ever met. And I'd be like, Gardy, what time's the bus leave? You know, and he'd be like, whenever I'm ready, bro. Like the staff would be waiting for the players. There were certain guys that you know damn well that like the bus wouldn't wait for Clint Frazier. They would leave him and they'd take him to Scranton, and then they'd go to the airport before they did that. But as far as the hierarchy on that team, like Judge is certainly up there, if you ask me. Certainly. If he's the one lobbying to get Cody Bellinger back, it's hard to believe that he's higher than Aaron Boone, in my opinion.
You just made me think of something. I think it's a good way to end and then transition into the comments from the chat. Bro, the way that they did Brett Gardner on his way out bothers me. And we talk about left field, and I call left field the curse of Brett Gardner, because nobody has patrolled it like Gardy since. Cody Bellinger, I'll give to you. They got to get him back. But like, yo, with Gardy, it was a thing where it was like they left the locker open for him, but he never got his proper farewell. And rest in peace to his son, because that was a terrible story that came out this year. But Gardy has not been back. Gardy and the Yankees, I feel like, ended on bad terms, and I feel like that was not right. I feel like they didn't do right by that man. But to hear you talk about, you know, Gardy and his rank, and, you know, him being that like last piece, like that veteran last piece that had a ring from 2009 that was still with those teams in 2015, 16. So like, man, I felt like Gardy deserved better. He played hard. We loved his style of play, Gardy party. And then even some fans, you know, because he got up there in age and his production slowed down. Some fans were really harsh on him at the end. Oh, get rid of this guy. He's a bum. I felt like he deserved a better send-off with the Yankees for sure.
When you hear people say like, dude, like this person's a clubhouse guy, that's why he's there. Like, Brett Gardner was the definition of that. You know what I mean? Like I mean it, bro. Like, again, sports are really unique. You know, like when I'm coming up and I'm getting asked by Randy Miller, like, what are you gonna, like, you gonna go out and win left field? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna win left field. And then know that Brett Gardner's reading it and he's like, no, you're not, you know. And then to know that we're still cool with one another and like we're trying to take food off each other's plates at the end of the day. But Gardy was the best teammate I've ever had, brother. Funniest dude I'm dead ass serious. The end of Gardy's career, the last like 2 years, bro, the difference in him the first couple years whenever I was in the big league versus the last few years, that dude was the funniest guy I've ever met. I have so many good stories that I would love to tell about him that I don't think can ever see the light of day, because I don't know if I'm the one that should be telling him, but just know that Gardy was the man, bro. And to know that they actually did kind of like shaft him a little bit, like here's something funny. Like when Gardy was signing back and haggling, trying to get back into the Yankees, there's times when these players can ask for certain things. Some of these guys want the master suite at their hotel. The Yankees stay at 5-star hotels everywhere they go. Some of these players want a suite. Some of these players want a suite at the field. Like Gardy, bro, I remember walking into Gardy's room in the last year, and Gardy looked at me and Tyler Wade, and he always used to mess with Tyler Wade. And he looked at Tyler and he was like, he's like, do you have a balcony in your room? And Wade was like, yeah, I got one. He's like, I've got 5. And it would just be like, oh, like he would invite players to his room just so you could see how big.
Yeah, just to flex. Just so you know, I'm up here. I got a ring, and I've been doing this longer than y'all. I'll never forget Gardy with the banging on the dugout. Like, yo, because like as a fan, like that shit gets you fired up. This guy's he's banging on the dugout to get at the refs or get at the umpires, and it became Yankees versus the umps, Yankees versus the umps, and like that was a hilarious, like, what was that, 2019? That was like a hilarious string of events.
He had a dispute with the Yankees that caused his contract negotiations to like not stall, but it certainly was something that he was like trying to get. And if you knew him well, then you're like, dude, this can't be real. Like, this is so funny that he actually, like, dude, he was trying to get them to buy him a tractor for his
farm in South Carolina. I believe that 100%.
It was like a $350,000 tractor, and they were like, "We're not doing it." And he's like, "Bro, I want the tractor." And like they ultimately didn't buy him the tractor. But it's just like to know that he was sitting at a table looking at them, and he's like, "Dude, I want a John Deere tractor." Like I can't even begin to think how.
And they're
funny.
like, "You can buy it yourself." No, you buy it for me. I want you to get it for me.
Dude, funny, I'm telling you right now, some of this, I'll tell you off camera one day, like some of the stuff that he would do, funniest shit I have one story that
pranks.
Tell.
I always heard he was a prankster. Somebody's got to lighten the mood. It's heavy being a Yankee. The pinstripes are heavy.
I have one story I want to tell so badly, but I don't know if I should tell it. It's not bad. It's really funny. I mean,
you can maybe leave some names or some things out.
So listen, there was a time in 2019, right? And I just came back from having my my sprained ankle, and I was 5 for 55. I mean, I was cold. I mean, I was cold. And Brett was like hotter than Jamaica in August. He's up there seeing beach balls. And they had a right-handed pitcher on the mound. And I hit right-handed pitchers better than I hit lefties. So I was like a reverse split guy. The Yankees don't like to do the righty-righty matchup. They'd rather do the lefty-righty. And so Brett was hotter than all get out. And then I'm 5 for 55. And it's just like, yo, Brett's probably the right option here. And so the Yankees had 3 buses. The first bus would be for like the younger players that you get on. They would make me and Tyler Wade be on the first bus all the time. You'd get there. You get to the field at 1 p.m. and the next bus would be like 3. And it'd just be like, dude, I'm just sitting in my locker all day waiting for the rest of the guys to show up, feeling like I had to get there early because I'm 21, So Brett skipped the first bus. So then the second bus rolls around. The second bus is always the bus where most of the players are on. Brett didn't come on the second bus. Brett came on the bus that like Brian Cashman and all the like front off and like Michael Kay and all the people that show up like really late to the field show up on, right? So when I started to notice, I was like, yo, where's Brett? And they're like, he's not here. Well, then Brett showed up, full beard, didn't shave his beard. So I was like, oh man. So whenever I say that towards the end of his career, he started to act differently, it was funny as hell, bro. The stuff that he would do. So he's poking that bear, right? So he shows up. So he skips batting practice. Okay. And he skips batting practice and doesn't go out there, doesn't do anything. Well, we're in Baltimore. And so in Baltimore, the kitchen is the area that they would do the hitters meetings at. It's really small clubhouse. So we would do the hitters meetings in the kitchen. And when all the coaches show up, whether it's the hitting coaches, Booney, sometimes everyone shows up. Well, Brett had made it a point to go in there early. And Brett was sitting in there and had like 3 Budweiser cans crushed up like sitting on the table, like at it, like while he's eating lunch. And I remember Booney walked up to him and was like, "Yo, are you available to play today?" And he goes, "Do I look like I'm available to play today?" And I remember later that night, we like, for instance, I hit 2 home runs that night. I remember like that I hit 2 home runs, so the Yankees made the right move. But I went over to Brett's room that night and I was like, did you drink at the field?" He was like, "No." He goes, "But they don't need to know that." And he's just like, so to know that
that's great.
Cool, like it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, because that was the only time I'd ever seen someone do that. And obviously I would assume that like later someone asked him like, "Dude, did you?" And he's like, "No." But it was proven a point that like you guys just aren't using your eyes. You know what I mean? You're looking at the underlying metrics. And that's a big problem with the Yankees, I feel like, is that they've taken the using the eyes out of the like the element of how they put people out in the lineup. And Brett obviously is an old school guy, did everything that he needed to do to get the respect that he had. Best teammate I've ever had, funniest dude I've ever been around. And so to see him do that was it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So shout out to
a man with a plan. He had a way that day. That's a great story that no one else could tell. But like, I don't know. Now I want to go back. What game was that? I want to know exactly what game that was. I can't recall. It's been so many years. You said he had 2 homers against the Baltimore Orioles in Baltimore?
2019 against Baltimore. David Hess was on the mound. I specifically remember the first video where it was like David Cohn was saying like, Clint Frazier is off to a really bad start. You know, hurt his ankle, hadn't been swinging a hot bat, and then it was like bam, homer. And then I'm sure that somewhere in that dugout, Gardy had his hood on with his beard, and he's just looking at Boone. I'm sure Boone looked at him, and he was just like, all right, you know. But
man, and I know we got to wrap soon and get to the chat. But the Yankees don't have one person like that in the clubhouse in the dugout now. Not one guy.
He's such a guy that you have to have a guy like him in your locker room. I think that Aaron Judge is doing his best to be that. Aaron's really good with incorporating people in. I do believe that Aaron is taking on the role of what Gardy would do, you know, in terms of like bringing the players into his room and really just like providing an atmosphere to where players feel comfortable showing up to. Because again, you don't want to be a rookie or a young player showing up to Yankee Stadium and already feeling all that pressure as it is, and then feeling like you aren't welcome in that locker room. So
right.
I do believe that being around Aaron, that he's taken it upon himself significantly to fill the role of what Brett did, because I think Brett laid the foundation extremely well of like what you need to do for these younger guys to feel like they can actually contribute, because there's no room to haze these guys. You know, hazing isn't gonna help. I got hazed by another player. I had a guy take my bag and pour it out on the ground. And I went over to his bag, poured his bag out on the ground. And then the 9th inning rolls around and I hadn't picked up his bag. And when I mean bag, his travel bag, like he was hazing me. And he told me that if I didn't pick up his bag, he was going to make it the worst second half a rookie has ever had in their career in the majors. And let me tell you something, brother. 9th inning rolls around. The guy that flipped my bag over is up with the bases loaded, 2 outs. We're down by 1 run. And I'm in the back of my head. I'm like, dude, his bag is still in the locker room. And if he strikes out right here, I'm cooked. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking this in the middle of a major league game, you know, where it's just like, bro, like you can't create atmospheres like that for these players.
Yeah, it shouldn't be going down. It doesn't help anything.
I think Aaron Judge is doing everything that it takes to make sure that these players feel good. So we can get to some of those comments. I know that you guys have been really active, and I appreciate this. This is cool. I mean, obviously, this is the first time that I've been on with another collaborator, Keith. So you popped the cherry. I feel like we'll do this again. I mean, we've been at a consistent like 250 plus viewers. I think that they're adding up mine and yours together, but overall, it's like, I mean, bro, we're getting good interactions. I feel like the fans need some kind of interaction. They're not getting what they want this offseason. So if we gotta take it upon ourselves to be the voice for the Yankees, I mean, we might as well just run this back a few more times.
First off, pause on anybody popping your cherry. Pause. Definitely not me Pause. But yeah, I told you off camera, I don't care about numbers, bro. Like I did 4 years of nighttime radio, which reached hundreds of thousands of people, and I could never see how many people were listening. I could never see how many people I was reaching. I could only go off of, what I heard through the phone. And then there was even a barrier between that, right? They have to call my producer first and get from my producer to be put up on the call screen. So I never do any of this for numbers. Even when I played, right? Like when I played sports, I remember my mom was like, "Oh, your grandmother's showing up, your aunt's showing up, your cousins are coming to the game." And as a kid, I was like, "I don't care." She's like, "What do you mean you don't care?" I'm like, "I'm going to be me and I'm going to do me no matter if there's 5 people watching or 500,000. So thank you, everybody, for watching. This is the first one that we've ever done. Clint has been working on his YouTube since I have not been on WFAN at night. I've started to do more live streams on my YouTube. If you like what you saw, make sure you like and subscribe and all that stuff. Shout out to Aday, Hakeem Worldwide. He threw 2 super chats. Yeah. So that's $19.99. So that's $40 that he threw tonight. But I really want to shout him out because he hit me earlier today on Instagram, and I've been battling a little bit of a cold. I've been sick for like 3 days. And he hit me on Instagram and was like, "Yo, I see you're scheduled for tonight. I'm a tune in." Something like that. I'm trying to find the actual DM right now. Oh yeah, he just sent me a DM. I'm gonna be tuned in tonight. And when I looked at it, it was, okay, description, Clint Frazier, Keith McPherson, Yankees hot stove reaction. And so, at 3:22, I'm not feeling so good. But once I got it in my mind, okay, we're going to watch Hot Stove tonight. I'm going to take some notes and I'm going to rock with Clint tonight. I feel better now. I feel like tomorrow will be a day where I come out of it. So like the power of, feeling like you got to, work. But this isn't work. We're chilling, bro. It's 11:16 p.m. on Monday, January 5th. And, we've got some Yankee fans in here kind of powwowing and talking about where we are this offseason. So I don't know who else we should pull up from the chat. I did want to shout out my guy, Aday, a.k.a. Hakeem Worldwide, because he threw $40 into the chat.
Yeah, hey, and again, Hakeem, I've seen you comment on my stuff too, bro. I really have. And I know that you tuned into my last live stream. I think it was your first time. So I do appreciate you tuning in. And look, something I want to say that I always say is, I don't want you guys to ever feel like you have to compensate me for hopping on here and kicking it with you guys. This is not, like he said, we're not here to try to make money. We're here to just honestly talk about something that everyone seems to have an interest in, and we all have opinions. So Keith and I just decided that we'll share our opinions to you guys, and I think that it lines up with a lot of the things that you guys say. So again, this was a really cool experience, and I do appreciate the money. We both do. But again, don't feel like you have to do it, and just know that, we're here for the love of the game, guys. Like that's really what this is about. I think Keith and I we bounce off each other well. And obviously this was something that we wanted to do in the past and talked about doing it during the playoffs, and decided that, hey, we're going to pull Keith out of the depths of his cold and put him on the hot stove tonight with us. So shout out to Hakeem for pointing that out, because I'll be straight up, I didn't even know I scheduled that. I'm not like, I don't know how to.
All good, bro. All good, bro.
So this is
I'm
cool.
glad it happened, because it literally flipped the switch in me. I'm telling you, like I was sleeping off a NyQuil this morning. Like I took NyQuil once I put my son in daycare and got back home. I hit the NyQuil at 9:30. I was sleeping until like 12. And then when I got hit with that at 3, I was like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing tonight, and I'm gonna be good enough to talk, and I'm gonna be prepared and ready to go, and like I'm not gonna make an excuse that I'm not feeling well. And then there's something about when you can't make an excuse or you give yourself something to physically do, you pull through. Like there were many nights where I felt like that on the radio at WFAN. Like, yo, I got a cold, but I'm not gonna stay home and pass my show to somebody else. Like I'm gonna go on and rip my show. Jonathan in here too. Shout out to Jonathan, my guy Jonathan Sosa, aka Jonathan from Los Angeles. You may have heard him on my radio show. You probably heard him on Michael K's show. He is a Yankee fan living in Dodger land. His young son is a Yankee fan living in Dodger land, going to elementary school with these Dodgers fans. I don't know how they do it, but I appreciate my guy, Jonathan. He says, shout out to you guys and thank you guys for this fire collab. Yeah, so I just put a poll up in the YouTube chat. I said, should we do this more often? We could figure out how to make this once a week, once a month. Like, really we were going to wait until the Yankees made a big move. But once you realize their only big move is Cody Bellinger, you can't wait on that. That could happen. That could happen 1 o'clock tomorrow. That could happen 1 o'clock February 18th.
No, this was good. You know, something that, look, bro, I've always appreciated the way that you've done your show, and I've clicked in on it late at night, bro. Late at night. I actually respect that you were up that late because I was up that late too. We were both on the podcast or the platform at the same time. So I think that this is good. I need someone to bounce some of my ideas off of, to talk to. And obviously, bro, like it really comes down to, if the people that are tuning in appreciate it enough, then we can collaborate as many times as we need. You know, this is, I feel like you said, you're doing some new stuff in your life, and if it lines up with what you want to do, then let's run this, bro. Because I think that the baseball podcasting world's got a lot of runway, man. I'm trying to take up all that space for myself right now. So
yeah, and there's a lot of nerds, there's a lot of losers, there's a lot of dudes that never did what you did, one. And then there's a lot of dudes that never did what I did too. Like, it's one thing, like, you know, these guys never picked up a bat and were successful, never did anything with a glove on their hand. But then also, like, there's a lot of guys that have been handed some stuff and some opportunities. They never got it out the mud. Like, I always talk about me. I'm like, yo, I don't have any nepotism. I didn't have any investors, no angel investors. I didn't have anybody hooking anything up. Like, what you see with me is all on my own back. And so I think there's a space there for the real. Like, I think there's a space for sure for people that, want to hear it coming from a former player and a former nighttime radio host. I'm still hosting shows, but right now, like I said, I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing some different things, and I don't mind jumping on this because it's not for the money and it's not for the followers. Like, I saw some goofy on Twitter was like, yo, I can't wait to watch this with 8 other people, but you're anonymous. Like, You're clowning us for going live talking about a team we love, a game we love, and we would do it whether there was 8 people or whether there was 800,000 people, but we're doing it as ourselves. Face, government name, hi, in real time. But like, there's always some losers that want to talk about what somebody else is doing and that they're not doing. So we'll keep figuring out how to get this going as we get closer to baseball season. Because then once baseball starts, it's every day. That's what I love about baseball. I love football. I played football growing up. I just was watching the Knicks get waxed before I got on this live. It's different. Baseball is with you every day. And even if the Yankees aren't playing, somebody else is playing that affects the Yankees or former Yankees on the team. So, man, when this baseball season gets going, I'm sure we'll have a lot more content to crank out.
That's the one thing I keep saying on my videos, Keith, is that when spring training rolls around, and even better, when the regular season rolls around, brother, I can't wait to analyze this stuff under a microscope. You know what I mean? I feel like there's something that the Yankees fans appreciate, and it's just authentic ways of doing this. You know, we don't come on here and we're not going to scream. We're not going to be obnoxious. We're going to tell it how it is. I'm going to tell you from a player's perspective. You're going to tell it from a radio show perspective, a fan perspective, and every other perspective that you have. And I think that people will appreciate this, bro. I really do, because when the season rolls around, I'm going to be sitting there the whole time. I mean, people called me the other night the Red Roach, because you're not going to be able to kill me. The Yankees aren't going to be able to kill me off. I'm going to be here.
Embrace it if you like the name.
No, I loved it, bro. I thought that was the funniest nickname I've ever heard. So for me, I used to hate spring training, but now I'm like, dude, I can't wait for it, because ultimately I think that what you're doing and what I'm doing, and whatever we plan to do together, spring training is going to be a gold mine for us to come out and really stake our flag and what we want this space to look like for
easily, bro. I've done meetups at spring training. We could do a meetup at a bar, maybe downtown, do a live podcast. There's always people that want to go where baseball fans are, that want to go and just be in that vibe of the conversation. We could do a game where, people could pull up and could, there's just so I've gone to spring training so many years, whether it was with John Boy or whether it was by myself or with WFAN or MLB Network. Like, I know that area down there pretty well. And I'm actually already starting to get some calls and conversation about hey, what are you doing for spring training this year? So
I plan on being in the bleachers again this season, bro. I mean, I might be there for the home opener. I gotta go back out there, bro.
Yo, if you really want to, last year, I had to do opening day which like not had to do. Let me rephrase that because I'm blessed. But it's a task. Like it's hard to sleep before opening day. The Bleacher Creatures, we call it Happy New Year because we get back to our shenanigans in our hood, which is Yankee Land, 161st and River. But like my boss wanted me to do my show that night, and I'm like, nah, because like we're gonna be turning up, we're gonna be partying, I'm gonna be yelling and screaming, I'm not gonna have any voice. 2 years ago, I did that. Whatever, I did it. Like this year, I'm not going to have a show to do after opening day. And all of these Yankee games that I decide to go to, I don't have to run out. Like when you saw me in the bleachers, bro, I was out of that bitch. I had to get out every game by it. Like I couldn't get trapped. In the playoffs, I stayed one game, cut it real close. I got to get downtown to host a live radio show. I don't have to do that anymore. So if you really want to come through and you really want to see what like we do out there and what it's like, because we're undefeated. We never left the championship territory outside the stand. The fans are undefeated. Like Yankee fans are still the best fans in the world. And that culture that we have out there from Billy's to stands and all the surrounding, like, let me know, bro. We'll run it up easily. I've been doing it. I'm old now. I'm aging out, bro. I've been doing it consistently for 10 years. This is about to be 11.
Wow. Listen, all I know is that was the most fun that I had in a long time out there. You know,
Respect.
and I do remember seeing you dipping quick. You know, we took that picture and then you left, and obviously, look, now you're gonna have the capability to run this show however you want. You know, so we can get crafty with it. We can do. I mean, I got Brian Cashman in the comments right here saying do the show from the bleachers. Like I might go live from the bleachers.
Maybe the audio might not be good, but yo, shout out to Clint because I said this to him off camera too. I said, you know, a lot of people have said things to me about, oh, you're doing stuff with Clint, or like, oh, Clint said this about the Yankees, or you see what CC. I'm like, I don't give a about none of that. I'm like, I saw Clint Frazier come to the bleachers and sit in the middle of 203 for the whole game. You know how many celebrities or media members pop in for roll call just so they can be like, Aaron Judge, and then they leave? Like, that's what everybody does now for that quick social media pop. Like, oh, you were in the bleachers with the Bleacher Creatures? I said, I don't even stay. I'm going upstairs to the MLB suite. I'm going upstairs to the WFAN suite. I'm like, Clint stayed his ass in the middle of the bleachers. You don't know how real that is from somebody that actually had their cleats on that field, that actually hit home runs in that stadium, to sit in the middle of the bleachers. Y'all don't understand there's levels to this. And I never seen another Yankee do that.
That's the thing, bro. That's the thing that the thing I struggled with the most. And look, we don't have to keep going too much about this. We can end it whenever. But the thing that I struggled with the most is that I felt like when I was with the Yankees, I never had a chance to really show people that I was a normal person too. And if I did, it would always be very scrutinized. You know, it would be some beat writer for the NewJersey.com or whoever that had an opinion about what I had to say. And so when I started to do this YouTube stuff, I really honestly was embracing it from the fact of like, you know what, I can kind of take control of the narrative again. I can show people that I'm a little bit different than maybe what you saw me as. And I've had a lot of people since I've been done playing that have gotten the opportunity to have in-depth conversations with me and then be like, yo, you're nothing like what I thought that you were like. And it's like, well, I appreciate you giving me the chance to show you that, because I never, and so to do these lives with you, it's good for me because not only do I get to talk about something that I did my entire life, but I get to show my personality. And right. So I do appreciate you coming on here and you giving me the chance to do this and obviously saying the things that you said, because brother, I went through a lot with that organization and really never felt like I could dig myself out of that hole. And I'm a human too, you know? So I'm just here to show people that, brother, like going and sitting in the bleachers for me is not, that's not tough for me. That was fun for me. It was cool for me to see it from a different point of view. It was cool for me to hear the conversations that these people had in between innings, every pitch, because I know that damn well they were saying some of the same things about me. And so it's just cool to do that, because I think ultimately the more that we can resonate with these people that are watching, it just makes the experience better for everybody as a whole. That's what this is about. You know, we're trying to create a cool space that when people think about the Yankees, maybe they think about Keith or they think about Clint. And it's like, yo, I got to tune into what that guy had to say. So yeah. This was cool for me. I appreciate everyone that joined, because this is making me want to do it again. I'm seeing those numbers on the screen and thinking like, damn, I don't want to leave y'all, but we definitely need to run this back soon, whether it's weekly, monthly, whatever. Keith and I will talk behind the scenes and figure out a schedule. And honestly, brother, we're gonna if it's gonna be us that carries the Yankees on our back this year, someone's got to do it.
Yeah, there's room in this space for everybody. That's why I said the real will always win. You're a real one. Thank you for coordinating this with me and having me on. And, we just did 90 minutes of Yankees talk, off-season talk, and the Yankees have signed Ryan Yarbrough, Paul Blackburn. Like we're making it happen. So, man, shout out to everybody that watched too. Subscribe, hit like, and tell a friend to tell a friend. When this is over, share the video, share the link, and be like, yo, Keith and Clint just did a little live stream. Maybe there's more to come from this.
So, all right, guys and girls, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Keith and I will be back. This isn't the end. This is just see you guys later. So, thanks for tuning in, and obviously, Keith, thanks for hopping on with me, brother.
Of course.
All right, see you guys.
Good night, everybody.